Hi, I just wanted to do a quick live. I haven't done one of these since last summer. I have to remember how to do it, but I just wanted to share with you guys 5 games that I really like for group counseling. People are always asking me like what kind of games I have in my office, and to be honest, I really don't have that many. I have a really small space this year, and I'm going to be, well, last year and next year, I'm going to be in a really small space, so I had to kind of condense the games that I have. And I just mostly brought books with me to my new office, but I just wanted to tell you 5 that I really love and the skills that you can teach with them. So the first one is freeze dance. I use this in a ton of my groups for a lot of reasons. So of course it's self-control and body control, right? They have to be aware of their body, first of all, not like bump into other people while they're playing. And they also have to be in control, like when the music stops, you have to be able to control your body and stop in your space, right? But it's also a good opportunity to practice delayed gratification, right? They really enjoy the movements or they really enjoy the dance or the song. When we pause for a moment, they're having to wait until it's time to start again. You can also use it as a way to practice 2-step instructions. You can give them something like, when the music stops, you freeze. That's the first one, but then add on a second layer. So maybe if it's a social skills group, you compliment someone next to you, or if it's a calming strategies group, you freeze and then get into your favorite yoga pose, something like that. So you can use it for a lot of things. So self-control, body control, delayed gratification, 2-step instructions, all that. You could also do different signals when you freeze the music. So it could be like, when you stop the music, you freeze, and if I ring the chime, then you do this, but if I ring a bell, you do this. So helping them to kind of differentiate between signals or cues and knowing what to do. So following instructions, following multiple step instructions, paying attention to different types of cues that they might have in the classroom. So that's the first one, freeze dance. The second one that I really like to use is Waterfalls and Vines. It's a game that I made. It's really similar to Shoots and Ladders, but I use it with all of my groups because I have different conversation or question prompts to go along with different focuses. So there's one for anxiety, one for anger, one for coping skills, one for study skills, one for social skills, friendship, all of that. So the students really like it just because it's a familiar game, right? But it's a little bit different and it's focused on the group. But it's also really good for practicing dealing with disappointment, right? Because when you land on the waterfalls, those are like the slides you have to slide down. So we can practice like, oh, if you land on the waterfall, you take 3 deep breaths before you slide down, and you say something to remind yourself like, hey, it's just a game, no big deal, right? So that's a really fun one. I shared this at the end of the school year, but with my first graders, I printed a black and white copy of the game board for all of them on just on one page. And then I printed front and back question prompts for all of the topics for them. So it was 2 pages per first grader, which it depends on how big your school is. But for me, it wasn't that many because we only have 2 first grade classes, but I let them color the game board so they could take it home and play in the summer. So it's a really great tool for families to use as well. So that was 2. My third game that I use all the time is Jenga. And I know there's so many ways to use this, but the skills that you are really focusing on, right, are self-control, impulse control, and you have to be really careful with your movements so you're not knocking over the tower. It's also a good way to help students practice planning ahead and problem solving, right, because they have to figure out which block they're going to remove and kind of look at a situation and evaluate, well, if I pull this one, it might fall this way, but if I pull this one, it might be okay. And they can like test different strategies, right, if you allow them to like test a block, and then, you know, if you don't have the rule, I know some people play where if you touch the block, you have to remove it. But we don't play that way. I let them test it. So they're working through problems and trying to strategize and problem solve in that way. It's also a good game to practice dealing with disappointment, right? It's super disappointing when you knock it over. But again, we can just say, hey, we learned something from this and now we can try it again, right? But it's really easy to make it a counseling game outside of just those skills, right? Because I know a lot of people color code their blocks. They put dots on the blocks that are colors that match conversation prompts, things like that. But you can also just have them do something when they pull out a block. So with my kindergarten social skills group, just as an introductory activity, we played this, and when they removed a block, they shared a fact about themselves. And then I asked the other students in the group to recall the information that the other people shared. So they were not only sharing about themselves, but they were practicing listening to others and remembering facts about them. And I let them also ask follow-up questions if they wanted to. And then in a family changes group, we did it where when you pull out a block, you share a fact about your family or something that you enjoy doing with your family, things like that. So that is Jenga. Always use that one. 4th one, Uno. Everybody loves Uno, right? All of the students love it, but it's really great for working on some like executive functioning skills because you are planning and organizing, right? So you might help them to organize their cards in color order or number order in their hands instead of just like chaos of everything all mixed in together. But it also helps them to practice planning ahead, like, oh, I'll play this and then this and then this, and just knowing how to think a few steps ahead. Practicing that with a game is really easy to do. But outside those skills, you can always add counseling things, add conversation prompts for the color card that you play. We can also use it in calming strategies game. Maybe every time a skip or a draw 2 or a draw 4 is played, everybody in the group practices taking some deep breaths or using some self-talk to say like, it's just a game, it's not a big deal, I'll get another turn later, right? So that's a really good one. And then the last one, I kind of combined 2 games into one. So it's technically 6 games, but Pictionary and charades, they're similar. So I just kind of lumped them in together. But these are really good games for practicing attention to detail, especially while they're watching someone draw, they're looking at different details, or they're seeing people act things out, they're watching for details, so they have to be really attentive, they're practicing focusing and paying attention to something. But it's also a really good game for flexible thinking, so whoever is drawing or acting out, they may have to change their strategy if what they're acting out isn't working, people aren't getting it, or maybe their picture isn't giving people the information that they're needing. They might have to be flexible and try it in a new way. So it's also problem solving, strategizing, all of that. So that's a really good one for counseling groups too. And if you want to add just a twist to it, you could have them act out feelings, act out calming strategies, things like that. Really simple to do. So those were my 5 games that I love to use. If you joined a little bit late, the first one was freeze dance, really great for practicing self-control, body control. You can also do 2-step instructions if you want to like add a second layer to it. Second one was waterfalls and vines. And I can reshare it in my stories if you want to look at it. It's like shoots and ladders, but different conversation prompts for all of those things. You can practice dealing with disappointment in that one. And Jenga, always love it. Self-control, body control, planning ahead, problem solving, dealing with disappointment when the tower falls. Uno, really good for planning, organizing, strategizing, thinking ahead. And then the last one, Pictionary and charades, really great for attention to detail and flexible thinking. So those are my 5. I put them all on my blog if you want to just like bookmark it and save it, because I know you might not be thinking about school stuff right now, but you might want to revisit when school rolls around in the fall. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys are having a great day, great summer, or end of the year for those of you who are still in school. I will see you later.